So I'm going to talk about my experience studying at Maitripa College. And first, I just want to say how thankful I am that I had such a great opportunity to to study Buddhist philosophy, and the people I studied with, and my cohort, and the community in general. Um, so Maitripa is based on three pillars, and it's scholarship, meditation, and service. And this is actually really why I chose the school, was because I wasn't just looking to obtain more knowledge. Um, it was about being able to apply what I'm learning, and this is really what they do at Maitripa is you learn the philosophy, you learn particular skillful means, and you learn how to apply it in your daily life and in service. Um, so when I first went there, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I wasn't sure if it was going to be all Buddhists or a mix of people, and it was a majority Buddhists, people who already had experience. And my background, as far as a community goes, was very limited. So, but I didn't feel out of place when I got there. They were very welcoming, no matter what one's faith is. Maitripa and the faculty and staff, they're very welcoming, and they want to make you feel comfortable. And that's right away when I was there. They were so welcoming, and it really helped. So I'll start with the first pillar, scholarship. So, Yangtze Rinpoche, the president of the school, he loves philosophy, and lucky for me, I learned that I also love philosophy by after being there. And we studied such things as Lam Rim, Madhyamaka. We had various classes to understand more of Tibetan culture, and we had a rituals class. Um, we also had, we studied the tenet systems, which that was one thing that I feel I could take decades to just study the tenet systems. That's one thing I remember, just always being confused. um, um, One focus that they really try and emphasize is the importance of interfaith, because being in the culture that we're in, there's not just Buddhists, but predominantly Christians and Jews and Muslims and various other religions. So we we really went in depth on how to communicate the Buddhist point of view, how to understand where other people are coming from, and the importance of language and understanding definitions. One person's definition of a word can be totally different to the next. So making things clear and communicating in this interfaith is very important, and I loved that. And through taking these interfaith classes, I've realized how often it comes up in the regular world. Um, and lots of people ask me about Buddhism, and through my knowledge of these other religions as well, I have a better understanding of how they define particular words, and understand somewhat of their point of view. Another class we also took was just on the Abrahamic religions in general, and understanding those. Because again, it's very important if you want to communicate with society, you really need to understand where people are coming from. So I really enjoyed those, and I found those very helpful. Another class that is taught is Tibetan, um, which was very difficult. This wasn't a choice. I wasn't really, I didn't go there to study Tibetan. um, but it's part of the curriculum, and I wasn't really sure what to expect going into it. Luckily, Craig Preston, the teacher I had, he's a phenomenal teacher, and he had very good methods for and systematic approach for translating. That being said, he said it takes about 4 years if you actually want to be able to translate. Um, so it's not for everyone. But the learning that happened through studying the Tibetan language, lots of things happened, and it gave me much more of an appreciation of the language and kind of how difficult it is to translate. Depending on the translator, direct translations. Some people prefer to directly translate. Some people prefer to translate according to culture and what they think is most similar in how the giving culture perceives. So it's in a lot of ways a very personal approach to translating. So I learned a lot about translating as well and the work that goes into it. And they also have many classes on NVC, so nonviolent communication. I personally did not take any NVC classes, but I met a lot of the teachers, and the students I studied with also said how incredible these classes were. And again, it's about skillful means and learning how to communicate. It's not when we go out into the world. It's not going to be all Buddhist people. It's not going to be all happy people. It's not going to be, everyone's different. So some people have different temperaments and different ages, and so just learning how to communicate with these different people and depending on their mood. These classes are also very, very helpful. So there's a lot of skillful means built into these classes and utilizing what we learn. The next pillar I'll talk about is meditation. And really this is, I would say the main reason, this is really what drew me to Maitripa, was being able to put into practice what I'm learning and having Yangtze Rinpoche be able to guide. He's a very good teacher, and so how the classes worked was we would have the philosophy classes, and along with what we were learning in philosophy, we would have a meditation class. So what we were learning, when we were focusing on emptiness, we did, I don't know how many different emptiness meditations, but luckily we had Rinpoche to guide us. And it also made me realize how meditation it's not a set in stone way that it should be done this way. It's really personal. It's what works for you. And so I got to get a feel of all of these different types of meditations, and I could see, okay, yeah, this one's not really working, but yeah, this one works, and I can start to familiarize my mind more and more with those. And so having studied the philosophy classes, it also really helps because you can go more in depth. Having already studying and having that knowledge, you already kind of are building a base because you have that understanding. It's not just somebody telling you to do this, but you're understanding why you're doing it and what you're trying to get to and the aim. So it was very helpful to have the philosophy class and the meditation class go together. And for me, it was really helpful, and I loved it. We also had various teachers visiting. One of the teachers, Roger Jackson, it was great having him as a visiting teacher. He's done a lot of work on Mahamudra. So he not only provided public talks on Mahamudra, but he gave us some lessons, and according to, he tried to make it fit more of the Gelug style. Um, but yeah, it was great having even a taste of the Mahamudra and what he knew about it. Um, yeah, and also just having different teachers in general. That was another thing I really was very appreciative of, was not seeing just one teaching style, but having multiple teachers. So if Yangtze Rinpoche was out fulfilling his obligations, they got Kangse Rinpoche was one of them, and he was one teacher in particular that I enjoyed, and it wasn't necessarily his teaching style. It was really his humor. He was just always smiling, and just always he laughed at everything. So yeah, and I really just enjoyed his presence, and him guiding meditations was quite different than Rinpoche in a lot of ways. And again, that reinforced that there is not a way or just 10 ways to meditate, but there's countless ways to meditate, and it's really finding what works for you, and it was great to have that. Okay, and then the last pillar. Oh, and another thing, actually, in meditation, we actually, in one of our classes, we kind of built a curriculum to be able to, for the students ourselves, to teach meditation to beginners and whatnot. And that was very helpful, learning how to teach, and also building the confidence, because it can be very scary if you haven't really, being a beginner yourself, it's like, am I okay to teach this? But they really help you build that confidence and be able to guide others in meditation. And so that was helpful, leading into the last pillar, which is service. And there's many different service projects at Maitripa. They have, I think, working at like a soup kitchen, just helping homeless in general. Helping at a hospice is another. And what I did was I volunteered at a prison. So I would go to a prison once a month, and I would have a Dharma lesson with prisoners, and that for me was a wonderful experience, because I learned so much from these prisoners that I didn't really know what to expect going into the prison. I know they were appreciative. They wanted guided meditations, and we gave that to them, and taught particulars about Dharma, and lessons would be planned if they didn't have questions. But a lot of times when the inmates came, they already had questions, and a lot of them, due to having so much time, were very well read. So a lot of times I had to study before going into the prison to make sure I know what I'm talking about. And so I would make sure, talking to them, say, like, what do you want to go over next time? So I can make sure I know what I'm talking about and give them the correct information. That being said, you also develop a relationship with these inmates, because they come back most of the time when they can, and you really get to see that they're no different than you. They just happen to make a wrong decision at a particular time, and they're paying the price for it. But really getting to know them, the way I thought of it was, maybe if I made these particular decisions, I could be in the same place. So I felt really no different than these prisoners. And so for me, I was grateful to have that experience. And yeah, so I'm very grateful for what Maitripa College has to offer, with the scholarship, meditation, and service, and they all go together. I don't think you can use one without the other, and it really helped open my mind, just not having any formal Buddhist background before and being put into that, it really helped. Started to understand more of the Tibetan culture, and how Tibetans teach. And Namdrul, the dean there, she would sometimes have to explain why Rinpoche does some of the things he does. And she's like, yeah, that's just how Tibetans do it. But he also had a great sense of humor, and he always brought joy and compassion to his classes, and that was great. So then, as far as, after graduating, as far as the degree goes, it's limited. But I think most people that go to Maitripa, they're not looking for just the knowledge, like me. I didn't go there just for the knowledge. I went there for more understanding and spiritual development. And it's really, they really help you with that. And so with the education that I received at Maitripa, I feel like it's stuff that I can apply in everyday life. And I'll notice myself almost every day now, just through, especially with emptiness, because we studied so much about it, just really picking apart, the lack of inherent existence in really everything. And it's just like always constantly going on in my mind is everything is empty, everything is empty. So I just apply everything that I've learned in everyday life. And it's really helped ingrain that into me. And yeah, and I'm just gonna, I plan to continue and cultivate the understanding that I have gained from Maitripa, and yeah, and just continue the process.